Hey everybody, it's Maya, and today we're doing a full face of drugstore makeup. If you're interested, then just keep on watching. Now, if it wasn't already obvious, I re-dyed my hair. She also covered up all of my gray hairs, so I don't have any more. I'm gonna start by prepping the skin. Now, everything in this video is drugstore, from the makeup to the brushes to primers to setting sprays, all of that. And this is the MILANI SPF BFF primer. It has a SPF 30 in it, and yeah, I really do like this. It's super glowy as well. It's great. It's a great 2-in-1. It really does make the makeup look really pretty underneath as well, or over top of it. I have this ongoing issue where sunscreen just kind of like burns my eyes, but I've not had that issue with this sunscreen, so yeah, and I'm really glad that it's a primer as well, so I could just get a 2-in-1 action out of it. Next, I'm going in with the e.l.f. Halo Glow, and I have mine in the shade 2. I wish I got shade 1. I've been looking everywhere to get another bottle of like shade 1, but it's always sold out. I'm just gonna apply this to like the contouring parts of my face, so not necessarily the high points. I found that that tends to work for me more than just applying it all over, because it does darken me up quite a bit, and I don't really need that too much, so I'm just going to apply it there. And I'm going to go in with this Ulta sponge. It's just by the Ulta Beauty brand. It's really nice and bouncy, and it feels exactly like all my other sponges. It's just really nice. I love the Halo Glow because it does add like the tiniest bit of coverage, but it also adds glow to the skin, especially on my no makeup days where I'm just kind of wearing concealer and I don't want to do foundation. I love using the Halo Glow as my actual bronzer because, as you can see, that definitely just warmed up like the perimeter of my face and added that really pretty glow. So it's really nice to just wear on its own like that, because I would feel comfortable going outside the house with like some mascara and like this on the cheeks, because look how pretty that looks. It's so good. For the actual foundation, I'm going in with the Flower Beauty Light Illusion foundation. This is in the shade Porcelain L1. This foundation is like, I mentioned it before, it's like a dupe for the COSAS foundation. It's really great. I love just how it sits on the skin. It's very, I wouldn't say full coverage, but kind of like it does have a lot of coverage to it. It also has a really nice, pretty like satiny finish. It's not matte, but it's also not too glowy. It's just like a mixture of the two, and it's really pretty. I'm blending that out with the Real Techniques Instapop face brush. Real Techniques also has really amazing brushes, as we all kind of know. I love that they're sold at the drugstore because you don't have to spend a ton of money to get really great brushes. I've had my Real Techniques brushes for years, and not once have they like had any bristles come off of them, or is that the right word, bristles? I don't know. They've never like shed or anything, and they've never made my makeup look patchy, or it never skipped. Like, these brushes are really great quality. They're really like thick, they feel good, and they're really cute too. But yeah, I've never used this brush specifically for foundation. I've used it for like powder blushes, but I really do like that for foundation. It's really nice. I'm used to using like the Rare Beauty foundation brush, and this is a good alternative for when I'm not using that one. Really cute. My makeup looks blended. I don't even have to go over that with a sponge. I love the Flower Beauty foundation. The shade match is really nice on me. The way it sits on the skin, it's just so pretty. So for the bronzer, I'm going in with the e.l.f. Putty bronzer, and this is in the shade Tan Lines. e.l.f. also has this putty bronzer brush, so this is exactly for that. So I'm just going to take that onto my cheeks. I love this bronzer. It blends out like really nicely. I do love this shade Tan Lines as well, but I kind of wish that I had like a deeper shade sometimes. Like, obviously it builds up and is a really pretty shade on me, but sometimes I don't want to build it up and I just kind of want to swipe it and have it, you know, show up. This shade is really good And yeah, the brush too is really nice, but I feel like it's a little bit small for a bronzing brush. Maybe for contour, this brush would be better since it's a little bit more precise, and when you bronze, you kind of want your whole cheek to be bronzed up. But that's just me critiquing. But e.l.f. has really great brushes. I always like look for new ones whenever I go to the drugstore, just because I know that their brushes are like kind of hidden gems. They're really affordable as well, and a lot of people kind of like sleep on them. In my opinion though, e.l.f. is really like turning around. It's become one of those brands that everybody is constantly selling out. Like the Halo Glow, the bronzers, the blushes, the lip oils. Like there's just so much trending with e.l.f. right now, and they're like really stepping up. Like they are competing with all of the higher end brands. It's really cool to see because they're so affordable. It just makes you question why high-end products are so much money when e.l.f. is out here making dupes for all of the most expensive products. Speaking of e.l.f., I'm going in with the Luminous Putty Blush now. This one is in the shade Bermuda. I'm going to be taking that with the e.l.f. Putty Blush brush. This brush is like one of my top favorite brushes ever. Just, I love the shape of it. I love how it applies the blush. It just is so lightweight on the cheeks. It feels really good. And yeah, all of my cream blushes I love to blend out with this brush. It's really nice and just soft. I do have another brush that I want to show you guys as well. That is also by e.l.f. that I've seen nobody talk about. It's kind of like my little secret. And that is this brush right here by e.l.f. It is the, let's see, the name wiped off. I think it was like the stippling. I don't know, like it looks like this. It has become one of my most favorite brushes ever. Just the way it picks up product as well, and it's very similar to the Putty Blush brush, I will say. But I like this for bronzer too. It's just really nice, and I am going a little bit overboard with the blush. When I set things down with powder and everything, like my blush kind of fades away. So I just went a little bit overboard just to make sure that it was gonna show up. And I still have to go in with concealer anyway, so. And for concealer, I'm going in with the PIXI by Petra. I don't know what this name is, but it's just the concealer and the shade Cream. This concealer is very light on me, and it was also one of those ones that I was like, do I like it? Do I not like it? I think it was like the applicator that I didn't really like as much because it's so thick and kind of just hard to get really precise application on. But it is really nice. I like it. I kind of tested this out on one of my recent videos. Is like trying out makeup that I was going to toss out, but I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't toss this concealer out because I do really like it a lot. It's just, I don't reach for it just because of the applicator. And I'm going to be blending that out with this side of this Real Techniques. It just has two brushes, a wide foundation brush and a slanted concealer brush. So I'm going to be taking this slanted concealer brush. This brush on this end reminds me a lot of the Rare Beauty concealer brush because it is like slanted and gives the same effect as like your finger would if you were blending it out with your finger. And it's also super precise and the perfect density, I feel like. I'm not going to be blending that out like perfectly with the brush. I prefer to just blend it in like the areas that I want it to sit in, and then I'll go over it with a sponge just to like push it into the skin, because you can definitely like over blend your concealer if you just keep going and putting it places you don't want it to go. Just snatching the bronzer and blush a little bit better. Gonna tap this pimple right here that I've had forever. I don't know if you guys can tell, I'm not gonna show it too much, but I have a really bad pimple on my nose piercing right now because I decided to use one of those spin brushes on my face, and I went right over my nose. Don't know why I did that, and it definitely irritated it, and it grew a bump, and the bump started bleeding yesterday. So yeah, I'm just gonna lightly tap whatever's left on the brush to kind of conceal the tiniest bit so it's not as red. Yeah, now I'm going to take my sponge and just blend the rest of this concealer out so there's no harsh lines. And I'm going to push it into the skin. This is my favorite part of my routine. It just makes the face look so good afterwards. Like that side. Just look how pretty and blended that looks. And then you got this side. I've definitely been trying a bunch of new techniques with my makeup lately to see if I can make it look, you know, more snatched or whatever. Because like all the girls on TikTok, you all see how amazing their bases look. And I know a lot of them use the beauty filter. I don't use the beauty filter. I don't like how it makes my skin look. It just makes it look way too perfect and it's kind of scary. Yeah, I've just been wanting to make my base look as smooth as possible, and my goal is to have people ask me what my base routine is. But we all know makeup does not look like that in real life. I like to think on my channel that I show how makeup truly does look on the skin. I always like zoom in and show you guys texture and just how it actually sits. Yeah, like one of my main things coming onto my channel was that I was always going to show the makeup in its truest form. And I like when makeup doesn't look like makeup on the skin. I'm always trying to find products that do that, and I definitely have found a bunch of products that don't sit on the skin and look too makeup-y. But as we all know, makeup is makeup. It's going to look like makeup at the end of the day. So if you can see, it does look textured in some places, but overall, like, that base looks really stunning and glowy. Before I set with powder, I don't have any eyeshadow primers from the drugstore, so I'm just gonna take my Rare Beauty one. I don't believe in buying a bunch of eyeshadow primers. I just have the one, and it just happens to be from Rare Beauty. And I'm not someone who's okay with using concealer on my eyelids. I used to do that when I first started getting into makeup, and I would always question why my eyeshadow creased all the time. Because I wouldn't just go in with no eye primer, like I would always use concealer, and obviously that was the reason. Maybe I just have really oily eyelids and it doesn't work for me. Moving on to powder, I just picked this up actually like a few days ago. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I was using an old powder puff when I applied it and my makeup looked really textured, so I have a new one and we're going to test it out and finally see if this powder is good or not. But it's the e.l.f. Halo Glow Setting Powder. And this is in the shade, I think it's like light or something. I know everyone's obsessed with the pink one. I could not find the pink one. And I don't know if they have translucent. So I just got whatever was there. So I'm just picking it up on my puff. And then I'm going to press that into my hand. And then go under the eyes. That looks really smooth under the eyes. The issue was I was using an old powder puff. And it was just holding on to all of the makeup that was already on it and making my makeup just look really bad. Whatever's extra, I'm just taking that on the nose. I never apply direct powder to my nose. That's one of those spots that will always be dry on me. I just take a very light amount of it because like the chin, nose, and the forehead, like just this whole part of my face gets really dry no matter what. Taking the rest, just carving out that, and then whatever's left over, I'm bringing that over top of cheeks. I used to hate powders. I remember I literally despised them in the past because sometimes powders can make you look way more textured, but now I notice what powders actually do for my skin and it definitely smooths it down. If you're ever having like texture in some places, sometimes a really good powder will get rid of that texture and it'll just make you look really good and it'll fix all your problems. I always take a very light amount of powder on the forehead, like the tiniest amount that I can get away with, because just right here is where I start to get cakey. But yeah, I actually really like that powder now that I changed out the powder puff. It's really pretty. I would say right here I have a little bit more texture, but I do have that acne spot. But other than that, the rest of the face looks really good. My chin down here looks a little bit textured, but I've been having problems there lately, so it's okay. But overall, I really do like that powder. We're going in with the Milani Baked Bronzer in the shade Glow 4. So pretty. I love it. And I'm going to take that actually on this Real Techniques blush brush. And I prefer my bronzer to just kind of be everywhere. So that's why I'm going in with like this super big brush. So I'm gonna swirl that around and just apply that to the cheeks. I just prefer my bronzers just kind of, you know, everywhere and not just placed in one singular spot. The goal for this look today is to look really, really glowy. I love this bronzer too. It's very subtle, but it does provide that warmth to my skin. I think the shade is a really good shade for me as well. And if you do use a more dense brush, you can definitely make this look really intense, but I don't like that. So just going in with a light hand. Then for blush, I'm going in with another MILANI blush. This is in the shade Petal Primavera, and it's just a really cute pink sort of satiny blush. I'm going to be going in with this Profusion brush. It's very old. Profusion is sold at Walmart too, so yeah, I think this came in like a brush set. Profusion is very, very affordable, and their stuff is actually really, really good. I remember Profusion was one of like the first brands that I bought from. I bought a whole ton of their stuff. I got eyeshadow palettes, I got lip products, I got brushes. You know, I got everything from them. I even got like face palettes with blushes, bronzers, and highlights. And I will say they're one of the reasons why I had a lot of makeup fails. Not because the makeup was bad, it was just because the shades I was picking weren't my shades. I was using like a super gold highlight. I was wondering why my face had like this weird cast on it, and also just didn't know where to apply makeup, so I would apply my contour like literally down here. Yeah, it was a weird time for me, but I do appreciate them because a lot of their makeup is still in my collection. But Profusion is really good. I will say I love this MILANI blush. It's really subtle and just like a cute warm pink shade. I've been really obsessed with glitter lately. I want all the glitter I can get, and this Flower Beauty Stellar Prismatic highlighter in the shade Luna is exactly that. Look how pretty that looks. I showed this on my channel a bunch of times, especially in my Flower Beauty review. Like, that is stunning. That is so pretty. It's like that cute, just champagne white gold color, and it is just so glittery. I love it. So I'm going to take that on this Real Techniques. I think this is their highlighter brush, but I've had it forever, so I don't know. But I'm going to pick up a whole bunch of that, tap it off, and just hit. Oh my god. Oh my god. That is so pigmented and just so intense. I'm gonna tap that in with my sponge. That is very intense. I remember I didn't like this highlight when I first got it because it honestly was just straight up glitter, but I've been kind of into that lately. I don't know why. I'm just gonna go for it. Why not? I'm already applying a whole bunch anyway. Maybe don't go in with that much like I just did because my whole face is just kind of covered in glitter. If that's your thing, I would definitely recommend this highlighter. It is really intense though. But when you go over it with your sponge, it kind of makes it sink in just a little bit more and make it look a little bit more like cohesive with your face. That's a look for some people. I know a lot of y'all might hate me for this, but I honestly think it's really pretty. Especially if you are into that super glittery look, then this is for you. But it definitely will make you look like you're wearing a ton of makeup on your skin. But this would also be a really great eyeshadow topper, so I will be using that as an eyeshadow topper. And just for the fun of it, I'm going to set my face now with the MILANI Make It Last setting spray, and I have this in the scent Cherry. I love this setting spray so much. Ooh, I literally just want to eat that setting spray. It smells exactly like cherry chapstick. It is so delicious, and maybe that'll help the highlighter kind of just sink into the face a little bit more. Maybe, I know it will. So I'm gonna fan myself, and while I am waiting for this to dry, I'm going to look for an eyeshadow palette that is from the drugstore. I don't have many, but BRB. Okay, I picked out a few palettes. I might use all 3 of them, but I wanted to give you guys like options to look. And speaking of Profusion, I found a bunch of my eyeshadow palettes from them. But even though the highlighter is still really intense, it definitely helped kind of morph it into more of a like sheen. It's still very glittery, but it doesn't look as intense, you know? One palette I have is from ColourPop. One can argue if ColourPop is drugstore or not. I believe it is because it's sold at Target and Ulta. And it is very affordable. So I have this Sweet Talk palette, which is really pretty. The glitters are amazing. Like, the formulas in this palette are just chef's kiss. I also have this Beast. It's super thick. It is from Profusion. It is Beauty Superstars 23-piece complete beauty collection. This was one of those things that made me look like crap growing up because these shades just don't really work for me. It's a contour, a bronzer, a blush, a shimmery bronzer, and a highlight. And this highlight is very dark. It's pretty. It's just, yeah, I wouldn't recommend those if you're pale. But these eyeshadows though are stunning. I made some really cute looks growing up. And then I also have this Profusion palette. These are like their newer palettes. Most of their stuff looks like this now. It looks a little bit more like high quality, high end. It's really pretty. Almost all of these shades work, but those super shimmery shades, those ones, they do not do anything. They feel really thick and gritty, and when you like swatch it, it looks beautiful on the finger, but when you go to apply it, like only like 2 or 3 glitter chunks come off. I just kind of wish they kind of skipped those shades and just left me with the shimmery ones. I loved this palette. I still love it. I just don't reach for it too much because if some shades in here don't work, it just pisses me off and like I don't feel like using it, you know? But let's just do it. So all the eyeshadow brushes that I'm using are also from Profusion, from e.l.f., and Real Techniques. This is a Profusion eyeshadow brush. I'm gonna take this shade right here, just apply that into the crease, and yeah, as you guys can see, the shades are pigmented and they do blend out very nicely. It's kind of hard to screw up eyeshadow, you know? The thing with Profusion though is their makeup is good. It's just you're kind of paying for the packaging with high-end makeup because Profusion literally will give you plastic like this, plastic, this, plastic. Like, it just feels cheap to hold in your hand, even though the eyeshadow formulas are actually really great. Whereas high-end makeup, you have like a thick, you know, like you have that cardboard, like this kind of packaging. And I don't think Profusion palettes come with mirrors or anything. That was a really pretty base shade. You all know, for me, a palette is not a palette if their lighter shades don't work. So let's test that. I'm going to take a different brush and go into the lightest shade in here. I don't remember if this shade was good or not. Oh, and it is. Yes. I love when a lighter shade actually brightens up the eye. You all know that's my favorite step, is to lighten up my lid. And a lot of palettes that I own, the lighter shade just doesn't work. It just doesn't do what I want it to do, and this one definitely did that. I think that's all I'm going to do for this palette today. I would love to play around with it more, but I do have a previous video using it. I don't think I named it in the title or anything, but if you guys want, if you want to see more of this palette, please comment down below. I could do a full video using this palette and diving into it and just making, you know, a ton of different eye looks using it. Like, I could just do like a whole week's worth or something. I might just do that anyway, just because I'm talking about it. So now I'm gonna go in with the ColourPop Sweet Talk palette, and I really love this shade right here because it's more of like a creamier formula. I'm gonna pick up that up on an e.l.f. brush. I think this is like the Super Shock formula because it is really bouncy when you touch it. I just wanted to apply a little bit of that on top because it has a little bit more of like a peachier undertone to it, and it just looks really pretty. And I'm going to take this shade right here on another e.l.f. brush and just sort of warm up crease a little bit more. And then I'm going to take this sort of like caramely brown and deepen up the outer corner. I love that. It looks so cute. Okay, now going into the Beauty Superstars palette, I just wanted to pick up this yellow shimmery shade because I remember loving that shade so much. And I'm going to apply that over on the lid just to give a nice shimmer to the whole eye look. And then I'm going to go in with the Flower Beauty to top it off with some more shimmer. Ooh, that is so pretty. Yep, not taking the Flower Beauty. That is the prettiest eyeshadow ever. It's just so subtle and sparkly. I'm just like in love with my makeup right now. I love when things just look natural and kind of like glam and high-end at the same time. Okay, moving on to eyeliner. I'm gonna use the ColourPop. It's this cream gel color in the shade Overboard. I love this as my eyeliner. It is just my go-to. There's not like too much in here, but I know I'm going to run out of it eventually because I use it every single day. Once it's on your eyes, it does not come off. You have like a few seconds of like blendability to kind of just like morph it into what you want, but once it's on, it's on. If there's any left over on the brush, I can just tap over my beauty marks. I usually use that Freck pen for this, but that is not a drugstore product, so will not be using that. I don't like to do this technique too much because they look a little bit bigger using the back of my brush opposed to the Freck pen. It's like just a small dot, but that's fine too, and it kind of makes the pimple that I have kind of look like a beauty mark as well. So for brows, I'm going to use the NYX Lift and Snatch with the NYX glue. This is in the shade Espresso, one of my all-time favorite brow products because it just gives you those brow strokes, really thin strokes. And if you want, you could also use this as your eyeliner. This shade too is really nice on me. I think it matches my brows like perfectly. If you have really sparse brows, this is the product for you. Now I'm just taking the back of the brush that I used for my eyeliner and just brushing that through. I love how the NYX Lift and Snatch just blends. Like a lot of pens, you can apply them and they'll dry up immediately, and this just blends right through the brows. You never have to worry about it kind of just sitting there, and you don't have to blend it out immediately, like you have some room to work. And then I'm taking the NYX brow glue, just a clear one. I love and hate this brow glue. It is really thick and intense, but it does actually make your brows stay in place, and it really grips them, and you can morph them into whatever you want. I just don't like it all that much because I do have a lot of brow hairs, so sometimes it can look a little bit messy on me. And also sometimes it kind of looks like there's something sitting in my brows, but overall, I love the brow glue. We're gonna go in with the Viral Telescopic Lift by L'Oreal. I mentioned in the previous video that I don't really like this mascara too much because I don't really understand how to use it. The wand is so complicated. I just prefer the regular L'Oreal Telescopic. This one is just complicated for no reason. But for me, sometimes I feel like when I use this, it makes them look really chunky and I can't figure out how to separate them again. I love a nice fluttery lash, and this could give you that, but it could also ruin your lashes. So, and by ruin, I mean just keep thickening them and clumping them together. Definitely, you really need to figure out how to use the mascara. And I said it smudged on me my first time wearing it. I have not worn it. I wore it one time after that and it didn't smudge, so I just can't stand new mascaras because they're always so wet. I just don't know why mascara brands come out with wands that are just so different. Like, they're just hard to use. Original Telescopic is the most easiest mascara ever to use because it's so thin and it just easily coats your lashes with no issues. And this one, if you don't apply it properly, it could ruin your lashes. Maybe when it dries down a little bit more and I could actually see how it performs. But as of right now, it's just a little bit too much for me. For lips, I have a whole combo here. So first I'm going to go in with the NYX Line Loud lip liner in the shade Magic Maker. As we all know, it's my favorite shade in the Shine Louds. So I decided to buy the lip liner in the same shade. See, this lip liner though, it doesn't necessarily blend nicely. Like, once you go over your spot and like, you know how usually like you go over your lip liner and then you kind of go over it with your finger to kind of blend it. It kind of fades and gets patchy. It's one thing I don't like about it. But the color is really cute and It is pretty long wearing. On the top lip, it gets kind of patchy for some reason. So I'm going to keep those lined, and then I'm going to go in with the Revlon Super Lustrous Lipstick in the shade Rum Raisin. I could not find the Revlon, like the shiny one that everyone's raving about, so I just went with the Super Lustrous Lipstick. I love it from Rum Raisin. I went to Walgreens and I purchased this, or I thought I purchased it, and I guess it fell out of the basket because the Walgreens baskets are very, like, there's a bunch of holes in them, and it wasn't, like, the lipstick was so tiny, I guess it fell through one of the basket things, and I never paid for it, and I didn't realize it until I went home, and I was like, where's Rum Raisin? And it was the last one that day too, so I went back a week later. There was another one left, so I was assuming it was probably the same one that I dropped. And yeah, I picked it up and I bought it, and I'm really glad I did. I didn't think Rum Raisin was going to look good on me. It's a really, really pretty, like, almost red lipstick. It's not red, but it's kind of looks red. It's really pretty though, I love it. And the formula is comfortable. For gloss, I'm gonna go in with the Maybelline Lifter Gloss, and this is in the shade Topaz. I love this formula. It's so smooth and so glossy. It's just so comfortable on the lips. Yeah, this is the finished look. I am obsessed with it. I love the orange and like muted red kind of color. It reminds me so much of summer, especially with my new hair going on. I'm just screaming spring and summer right now, and it just is making me so ready for the warmer months. So yeah, this is the finished look. I am obsessed. This just shows that drugstore makeup is just, that's all you really need. Like, go to CVS, go to Walmart, pick out a full face, and you'll be so happy. Like, there's no need to spend a bunch of money on your makeup when you have the drugstore. This just proves that you can look high-end and only spend like $100 on a full face or less. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to like the video and comment what your favorite drugstore makeup product is. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.